Hello, and a warm welcome to yet another episode of the program Back to Farm. I am Joshua Ishaya, your farm guide. Today on the program, we happen to have one of the biggest frontiers of agriculture in Nigeria, talking about the Executive Secretary of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Professor Garba Hamidu Shaributu, in the studio. And we will be talking about the importance of cowpea as a source of protein. Nigeria is a major producer of cowpea. However, the various methods of storing and preserving the crop locally are grossly inadequate. For the development of high-yielding varieties, there is the need to consider other means of preserving cowpea. This program examines some of the factors influencing the production, preservation, and utilization of cowpea within Nigeria. On this program, we'll discuss the processing of cowpea as an alternative form of preservation. Stay tuned and take a look.
Cowpea to us is one of the most important stable food crop source that we have in this country. And virtually every part of this country consumes cowpea. Now the importance does not just lie with it being a source of food, but it also can be formulated into different food types, different condiments, different consumable products that favors every ethnic group we have in this country. That is where the importance lies. But good enough for us, we find out that there are various varieties of these crops that are preferred by different, ethnic groups or different regions. Like, for example, when you go to the southwestern part of this country, they love eating what we call the brown beans. In fact, at a certain point in time, we call it Ibadan beans in local palace. In the northern part of this country, you have various varieties that are specifically used for different types. You have the white beans that we have. You have the large grained beans. And all these ones are specifically used for different type of products altogether. But predominantly, the northern vegetation and climatic condition favors the cultivation and production of cowpea, especially in the northeastern part of this country and to some extent northwestern part of this country. These are areas that we have predominant cowpea production. And so the markets there are very big markets for production of cowpea. However, the cowpea production goes with a lot of problems. Number one, of course, of which is the effect of insect, the maruca, that is really, really devastating cowpea production. The most important aspect of it there is that you will be able to have them germinate very well on our soil, but by the time they start flowering, that is the beginning of a problem for us, because these insects will come over them, suck the juicy part of the flowers, and at the end of it, the productivity goes down. So vegetatively, you find very good growth, but at the end of it, the final product, which of course is the cowpea, you will notice that we don't have much of it. Scientific development has brought about the use of insecticides. But these insecticides are becoming more costly, and the more farmland you grow, the more insecticides you pour, and you are not even spraying this insecticide once or twice. At times you have to go 5, 6 times. Herein lies the cost of production. So cost of production for us, as far as cowpea is concerned, is a very, very serious problem. But like I said, we have been involved in research. We have a specific agricultural research institute that has been established and given the mandate for cowpea development, both in terms of genetic improvement, in terms of drought resistance, in terms of large production, and of course in terms of disease resistance. And that institute is the Institute for Agricultural Research in the Ahmadu Bello University. For the southern part of this country, we also have the Institute for Agricultural Research and Training in Ibadan, that even though they do not have the national mandate for cowpea, but they have a national mandate for farming system. And under that cover, they also do some little bit of research in that area. But predominantly, the federal government has vested the mandate for genetic improvement with the Institute for Agricultural Research, Ahmadu Bello University. And so far, so good. They are doing very, very well in collaboration with our partners, the African Agricultural Technology Foundation. You know, the smallholder farmer, by our own understanding, they form the bulk of the farming population in this country. And all interventions are geared towards making sure that the smallholder farmer has relief. But you know, smallholder is just a phrase. Okay. We need to identify who is the smallholder farmer. These are people with low income and small size farm. Now, if for any reason he will require to go in and out several times with insecticide before he is able to produce, and he has a low income, you know automatically he stands without any argument to say that he is terribly being affected, because vast of his input as far as the farming is concerned is going towards just one direction. Meanwhile, there are so many other factors of production that needed to be put in place. The seed is very, very important. The clearing of the land is very, very important. The soil type and understanding is important. The weeding is also important. When you compare all these other factors and input for production, you will find out that 60% of what he spends as a small farmer under our normal farming system goes to insecticides as far as cowpea is concerned. And these already, you know that it's a very, very terrible thing, and it's going to weigh down on his productivity. So invariably, you find out that these farm sizes continue to reduce because the inputs become more expensive. So somebody who has been able to farm 1/4 of a hectare, the following year will only be able to farm maybe 1/8. Somebody who has the capacity to farm 1 hectare, the size of the farm will continue to reduce because the input he is putting in there becomes a problem. Now, but what is the implication on those of us who are consumers? The implication on consumers there is that the small farmer will want to sustain his farming activity, and so the cost, you know, of the foodstuff eventually becomes higher and higher, and it becomes inaccessible to the common man. Now, if you aggregate these put together, you will find out that the total production for cowpea in this country will continue to reduce unless something drastic is being done about it. And all these attributed to the evil effect of Maruca. Now, when you look at the impact of BT cowpea, you also have to trace it back to when it was originally introduced into this country. The Nigerian situation is such that people take innovation with some little degree of doubt. And of course, you know that the BT cowpea is also in competition with those who manufacture insecticides, because introducing BT cowpea will lead to low market for those that are producing these insecticides. And you know that basically there will be serious competition. So when the idea of a BT cowpea came, and of course the challenge was thrown at the institute that has the mandate, and that's the International, Institute for Agricultural Research at ABU Zaria, with the support of the African Agricultural Technology Foundation. The introduction in itself was a Herculean task, but good enough that some of the private sector, like the off-takers, were also quick. They were also quick to ensure that they adopt it. Now, first to give credit to the introduction of cowpea was actually most of our seed entrepreneurs. Most of our seed entrepreneurs adopted it. Apart from that, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, under the chairmanship of the presidency of Architect Kabiru, they were also very quick to enter and adopted it. So there was a lot of mobilization that was done. Eventually, this was launched by the Nigerian government. And the support actually came when President Goodluck Jonathan actually passed into law the National Biosafety Management. And the National Biosafety Management also came in very, very seriously. Now, with the adoption of the BT cowpea and seen to be of high production as well as, not affecting the environment or the consumers, the Nigerian farmers now chip into it. To the extent that as I am talking to you today, people are really scavenging and looking for the seed in order to grow, because Nigerians have seen a form of relief that has come to them. And honorably, I can tell you that I'm a farmer. I farm this product on my farm, and I've seen the difference. Now, because I am within the research system, I'm also into extension. My farm has become a mecca of sort for people who want to come and see, and the whole of my community have now started adopting, the BT cowpea.
Right.
The architect of food security, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has declared a state of emergency in the area of food security. And it has formed part of the renewed HOP program. Now, there are two things involved. Number one, he believes that Nigerians should not go to bed on empty stomach. So BT cowpea, in the first instance, is going to provide a stable food source for the country. Secondly, the issue of food security goes beyond just having the food on the table, but the food must be nutritious enough to have. When the animal protein is becoming very, very difficult to reach, the best form of protein now comes in terms of our beans, because it forms the plant protein source for all our populace. And like I said, this is a foodstuff that you cannot get tired of, because you have different food types that can be fabricated from it and will give the Nigerian the typical satisfaction of having eaten food that is balanced. Because in beans, we have carbohydrate. In beans, we have protein source. In beans, we have other micro and mega nutrients that are expected, to be consumed by human beings. So on one part of the policy of the government, we're achieving it because the more we produce beans, the more Nigerians go to bed with their stomach full. The more you produce beans, the more you have other sources of nutrients that is available to the typical farmer. Now, I can tell you that the Nigerian does not like eating just carbohydrate, because science has told us that we should run away from protein calorie deficiency syndrome. So Nigerians are quite aware of what is available, within cowpea as a source of nutrient in terms of protein and carbohydrate. So to the Nigerian government, yes, we are able to provide food and food that are nutritious. But to the Nigerian government also, because of the sustainability and the need to actually satisfy the SDG, by making sure that we do what is sustainable, cost of production is reduced. And when cost of production is reduced for the Nigerian farmer, you find out that he has the ability to expand his, cultivable land. And so the more he produces more food, the more the market becomes very blossom, the more he gets money. And if he gets this money, it serves as his own source of income to be able to take care of part of his family. So on all fronts, you find out that Nigeria is benefiting from this discovery of BT cowpea. And that is the more reason why the demand now is very, very high. I was hoping that we will be able to go into the market and go to areas like Maiduguri, go to areas like Jigawa, Duse, and all the surrounding towns, and you see the battle, for trade in cowpea. Because with it, we find no spoilage, we find high harvest, and then, of course, other sources of food, like fodder, for our cattle and livestock population. When we came on board, and I became the provost of the Federal College of Animal Health and Production Technology. Our target was actually to look at the policy of the government and know how each of the agricultural research institute is going to key into it. When I came on board, the challenge we gave in terms of either promotion or exhibition of products is that every year each agricultural research institute must come with something peculiar. And that we have also incorporated into our promotion guideline. So for anybody to move, he needs to score some marks under innovation. And these innovations are not just brought in like that. As Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, we have a second mandate of trying to design researches for some of these research institutes. Now, the blame game has been that our researchers have not been reaching out to people. Why? Because we don't exhibit some of these products. And that's the more reason why they brought that thing for us and every other participant at the World Food Day to be able to see. Secondly, when we were amending our act, we deliberately decided to make sure that each research institute has a spin-off company. That spin-off company is expected to fabricate and bring in new innovations, commercialize it. And if it is commerciable, then the spin-off company should be able to liaise with the private sector so that they will be able to build on the innovation. So you can see that apart from encouraging people to go in as form of promotion and uplifting of their own research institute, we also decided to make it a revenue source, for the various research institutes. And that's the more reason why the government approved the spin-off company. And the spin-off company is supposed to work together with the private sector to make sure that whatever product we develop is there. But to hit the nail on the head, the current Minister for Agriculture and Food Security decided to come up with a deliberate policy to say, whatever you produce, I must see the benefit of it. Whatever land you have, you must put that land into use, and each of the research institutes has now been given a target as to the number of seed or the amount and quantity of seed you are going to produce, so that government will now direct all the various farmers to where they are going to have it. And at ARCN, we now decided to reactivate most of our adopted villages and AROC centers, so that some of these products that are coming from our research institute will easily get to the AROC centers in the nooks and crannies of this country, so that our farmers will have access to it. By doing that, we are offsetting the cost of transportation for our farmers to go about looking for this. We make accessibility very easy, and so most of these products will become cheaper. And if our inputs are cheaper, then invariably, unless other factors come in, the end product is going to be cheaper for the populace. While we commend the naysayers for their doubting spirit, we also want them to understand one thing, that the name of the organization that is spearheading this innovation is Africa Agricultural Technology Foundation. It's African. Yes, the sponsors may be organizations outside, Africa. But you find out that the African Development Bank is part of those that contribute towards that. Nigerians are part of, the countries that contribute to that. But most importantly, researches are being conducted by Nigerians. And I think we should begin to believe in ourselves to the extent that we cannot be seen to be those that are attacking ourselves. Now, research is not a one-man show. Research involves technologies. It involves the policymakers. It involves those who provide money. It will be doubtful for anybody to think that all Nigerians or all Africans have ganged up together to sabotage Africa. One person can do it for personal reasons, but I can tell you that in research, that is not what happens. Nobody conducts research on his own. But even if you conduct research on your own, you have to report to the management of the research institute. From there, it goes to other institutions that are established by government. So government did not leave anything just loose. What the government has done in order to make sure that our researches are viable and safe is to establish the National Biosafety Management Agency. That National Biosafety Management Agency is responsible for cross-checking what is happening in our various research institutes. That is after we have done due diligence, we have done adoption study, we have decided to go into all fields and look at it. We have done a critical analysis of what this research output is going to do for plants, for animals, for human beings, and for the environment. We take it to National Biosafety Management. National Biosafety Management will go through years, months and years of experiment to make sure that that product is very, very safe. From there, it moves up to NAGRAB. NAGRAB is the National Center for Agricultural Research and Development Biotechnology. Now, this NAGRAB will also subject whatever we have done to serious analysis before eventually the Variety Release Committee is able to make pronouncement. At all these stages, you have scientists that are fair-minded, and in none of them are there foreigners that are doing this. It's the whole Nigeria. So I want to clear the doubts in the minds of people that you cannot be moving from one researcher to the other, one institution to the other, and you do not find one institution that will come up and say, hey, this is what is happening. It's not a company thing, it's a government thing. And Nigerians are the ones that are involved. Like the BT Cowpea was researched at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, by Nigerians. The lead researcher there, Professor Isiaku, is from Bauchi State. So I cannot see how he will just come up and then fabricate something and then take it back to his own people to kill his own people. Because if all our researchers do something deliberate that is going to affect most of our farmers, are you going to leave us alone? Is every Nigerian going to die and we as scientists will just survive? So far from it. But like I said, I commend the naysayers if they are doing that genuinely. If they are not being sponsored by any organization because of profit, demand. Once they do that genuinely, it also gives us the opportunity to again look at what is happening. You know that for any product that you put in the market, you are also supposed to be following up on this product so that by the time there's reduced productivity, you go back again to the lab and begin to upgrade. And that's the more reason why each of our research institutes now, when you go, you find one variety, we keep on updating and upgrading it until we're able to meet this thing. The purpose of research is for us to dig less and less until we virtually know everything. So I can tell you the government is equally concerned, because like when the argument about Taylor maize came, the government called us, they sat us down, and we're able to prove to them that the naysayers do not really have a typical information of what is there. But I also want people to be very, very careful about what we are doing in this country. The mere fact that somebody has a handset available to him, he can fabricate all forms of things and then throw it into the market and say this is what is happening. I cannot imagine people that would say you carry syringe and needle and you are injecting into each grain of beans. How many grains of beans are you going to be injecting into this? The amount of drug that you are going to put into these beans will be higher in terms of cost than almost all the beans put together in this country. So I want us to be very, very careful. I want the naysayers to always seek information. We are available all over the country, either in our headquarters or in our substation. Any doubting Thomas should be able to move into, one of our research institutes or our outstation and inquire about what is happening. Then let us not reject people that want to come into this country to give us helping hand. We go outside the country to look for loan. We go outside the country to look for help in terms of military hardware, in terms of food. And then today, Nigerians are calling on Mr. President to open the border and import more food. And we don't know these sources of food. Yet we said, let the government bring it. Now, where you know the source, you are rejecting it. And where the source is not known to it, you say, bring it in. I think that if there is anything we need to do, we need to commend initiative of especially the foundation, the AATF. And one good thing about the AATF there is that they are not just interested in putting beans. They are not just interested in putting Taylor maize. They are also interested in improving production. Because as I'm talking to you today, this is a company that has introduced a seed production company. So the doubt of saying we have to go outside the country to look for the seed is not there, because the company is there and the company is already based in Kaduna. So you can just move into Kaduna and look for them. And they are farming those certified seed in Nigeria. And you can ask them, where is your source? Where is your farm? And of course, Nigeria has also put together the National Agricultural Seed Council that are responsible for cross-checking to make sure that these seeds are there. They inspect farms every growing season. If you are a seed entrepreneur, you must show them where your farm is. They will go and investigate. They take measurement from the point of land preparation right up to the point of harvest. These are things I think Nigerians should be aware of, to know that EcoBasic, which is the seed company that has been put in place by AATF, has a board that has Nigerians in that board. Apart from EcoBasic, they have also just recently also established AgriDrive. AgriDrive is chairman by a Nigerian, a lady for that matter, and you know what ladies can do. They will not tolerate any form of malpractice. Dr. Nkiru has been the chairperson of AgriDrive, and if you go to Fashola, they have established a farm settlement there, that you go in there and you can now get a lease of their tractors. They'll go and farm for you and come back. Just recently, they have also introduced a cassava processing area there. Now, I wonder how this organization will want to kill Nigerians and yet bring in all these developments. Who is going to use them? If actually the naysayers are right to say that there is something behind the scene, how can they bring all their investment and put it in this country when they know that the people are going to die? So the naysayers, I think they have to look at it very seriously and make sure that we are able to convince our people to adopt this technology.
I want to thank the Executive Secretary of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Professor Garba Hamidu Shaributu, for your deep insight. Many thanks to you for staying with us on Back to Farm, where we have been discussing the Executive Secretary of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Professor Garba Hamidu Shaributu, on the importance of cowpea in Nigeria. Cowpea flour and canned beans production are efficient means of preserving cowpea, which will help in reducing price fluctuation of the beans associated with unavailability of local supplies. In addition, since the sensory attributes canned semi-dry cowpea are acceptable, the Department of Agriculture at various levels of government should be encouraged to put in place measures that will encourage farmers in southern Nigeria to plant cowpea twice a year. And on that note, we come to the end of the program Back to Farm. My name remains Joshua Ishaya. Goodbye for now.